Hello and welcome back. And it's going to be a pretty interesting episode because it kind of goes against the flow of the general direction of the podcast. But like we said, we're trying to change things up so that it can actually make sense. I noticed that this channel is pretty focused on, like getting things, like in the right direction from the get-go, but that isn't how it works. A lot of the time when you're trailblazing a new trail, you will not get it right you get it right perfectly the first time. And so it's okay to make mistakes for a number of reasons, whatever reasons they are, but as long as you constantly review and adjust, you're going to be fine. Now, the title of this episode is The Who, Not The What. Now, the reason why we're going to this kind of episode, or we're doing this episode, is because before you can even begin the journey is one of the most important things that I found that is you need to have an idea of who you want to become in this process, in this entire process. Who is it that you want to become? Okay? And so that way it can be able to help you to align yourself to be able to achieve that goal. So it's about the who and not the what. So instead of thinking about, I want to make $1 million by the end of this year, or I want to have a business that I can control from a distance, or I want to be the best athlete there is, or I want to be a successful business owner, whatever your definition of success looks like, or instead of saying I want a great husband or a great wife or a great father, to be a great father, a great mother, to be a great career person, or whatever it is that you're doing, to be a great IT person, a great designer, whatever it is that you're focusing on. Before you can start there, notice how these ones are pretty much self-based. So they're only looking at you, what you get out of it. And so that in itself is actually pretty limiting because you can't actually go find this life as long as you're just looking at yourself in the mirror. It's like traveling when you're looking at yourself in the mirror. You can't actually go that far. And so it's time for you to actually step outside of yourself and actually think about the bigger picture, because to have an impact in this world and actually change this world, you do need to focus on improving the lives of other people. So when you change enough people's lives, your life is also going to change. And that's just by the way, we're going to cover that one in more on different episodes. However, the thing that I want to stress in this episode is called the who and not the what. And so before you can, now, when you figure out how you're going to impact people's life, you're going to find out your why. We're going to talk about your why later on. But for now, you just need to focus on the who and not the what. And then that means is, who are you inside? What is it that gets you, what is it that lights you up? What lights a fire inside of you that you can talk about for hours? What is it that you are super passionate about? What is it that you can sit down and just talk about it all day? What is it that you obsess about? And who are you inside? Are you still a little boy who is seeking to be, just to insert that level of playfulness and, excitement and inside of your life? Or are you, a grown man, and so to speak, whatever that means, whereby you're very serious in how you do things and you like things getting done properly, or depending on the kind of personality that you have. So the most important thing, or the most important takeaway from this episode is discovering who you are inside. So the goal here is to unearth that little child inside of you that has been hidden, to be able to access that little boy or that little girl that is inside of you that has been hidden for way too long, and to bring that out, to bring that person out. And that way you can be able to actually embrace yourself and actually become the person that you want to be, which leads us to who do you want to be. So instead of what you want, like saying I want to run $1 million company, you can say I want to be the CEO of my own business. And so that ties into who you are. And so as a CEO of your own business, then you need to kind of reevaluate what that really means. And so the best thing about that would be to actually sit down with other CEOs and actually find out what is that goes on in their lives. How do they do the things that they do? What do they do the things that, how does their day look like? What is their schedule like? And so if you can find a biography, an autobiography on a book about whoever it is that you want to become, it will be a great idea for you to actually get an idea. What time do they wake up? What do they do during their day? Because you have to start embracing that person. Because here's the thing. The person that you want to be is going to cost you the person that you are right now. So once you figure out who you are right now, you find out, what are the things that motivate you? What are the things that make you tick? What are your bad habits? What are the things that you've been tolerating for too long? What are the things that you know that you should cut out? So that is all a part about who you are inside, and who you are. There's also who you are inside and who you are outside. And so the goal here is to transition from the person who's inside to come outside, and from the person outside to actually fade away. So like a snake shedding its skin, that is the idea. And so once you figure out who you are inside, then you can look at who you are outside. That means start looking at the habits that you've developed over the years that have put you where you are in life right now. Because before you can start changing the person that you are to become the person that you want to be, you need to first of all take a good look in the mirror and be brutally honest about the things that you are currently doing that are currently self-sabotaging the thing or the person that you want to become. And so once you identify them, what kind of bad habits do you have? For me, I had a couple of bad habits, and by the grace of God, I was able to overcome them. I used to drink alcohol. I used to do cigarettes. I used to do weed. And, I was super lazy. I was spending my time reading novels and whatnot. And even though I had this big dream inside of me, there are so many things that I had developed around me, which were kind of a cage, so to speak, because I could not actually actualize the person that I want to be because these things were limiting factors. And I didn't even know how to manage my time, which is something I'm still struggling with even right now. However, one thing that I realized is the person that you want to become, the price for that person, because there's nothing that is free in this world. Even when an item is free, there's actually a price that you're paying for it. So an example of a free gift that you get, the thing that you're paying for it is probably your own freedom, whereby you're going to feel indebted to somebody because when they give you something for free instead of when you work for it. And it's just, so there's always a price for something. And so when you do something, so the price of the person that you want to become, the price that you need to pay is the person that you are on the outside. And so that person needs to go. And so like a snake shedding his skin, you need to let that person go. That way you can be able to allow the person who's inside to come outside. And as you constantly reevaluate that one, you're constantly going to be building a new person inside of you who's going to be coming outside of you day in and day out, depending on the kind of habits that you develop. And that's how they're going to get in. Like how it says that you are what you eat. It's pretty much the same thing. You are what you surround yourself with, you're what you kind of watch, what you kind of listen to. And so as you continue to change that, what happens is you're going to strengthen the inner person that is inside of you. And when the time's come for you to mold, so to speak, you're going to shed the outer skin, and the new person is just going to feel right at home. But the shedding process, it takes time to shed the process. That means, and even when you shed the skin, even when a snake sheds the skin, what happens is the skin dies. Okay, it's no longer part of the living system of the person within. And so that is the idea. So it's who you are inside and who you are outside. And so you need to develop the person that you are, to identify first of all the person that you are inside, because that is the ideal self. That is the person that you want to become. And then you need to nurture that person. You need to feed them with the right things, with the right habits, so that the person that is inside can come outside. Okay? And so once that person comes outside, then the person who's outside has to leave right now. So that person will have to die. And so once you decide that one, the whole process is kind of becoming, kind of figuring out who do you want to be. And so if you want to become a CEO, you need to have an idea, a mental image, so to speak. You need to picture it in your mind, to have an imagination inside of you of what that looks like. Because most of us, the biggest thing that we've had, or the biggest influence that we've had around our lives, are our fathers and our mothers and our parents and our siblings and our uncles and our aunties and other people who are local to where we are and at the level where we are. And so those people don't kind of inspire you or to motivate you enough to actually dream bigger. And so it's like the same way if you come from a small town, you're pretty much going to end up as a small town boy or a small town girl, unless you can actually go to the big city and then you can see big buildings, you can see big projects, and you can see big things being done. And then your mind kind of opens up to the possibilities, the boundaries that were kind of limiting you will open up and allow you to figure out and to conceive ideas that will scare you, imaginations that you've never thought about that were even possible. And so that is the idea. And so the person that you want to be, you will need to feed the person who's inside already, so that for that person that is inside to come outside. And so for you to become, so when you figure out who do you want to be, you need to find an example of who that is. Find out how do they use their time. Do they waste their time like you do? Do they spend the time the way that you do? Because I used to find that, I would spend like 1 hour or, 30 minutes just preparing some weed, getting some cigarettes, drinking alcohol. And even that time, I had another hour where I was getting high and before the high goes down. And so you'd find a lot of the times you're wasting so much of your time with stupid stuff that doesn't develop you, stuff that kind of cages you and limits your potential. And so once you start eliminating those things, you find yourself that you have more free time. Once you start eliminating the people that you're surrounding yourself with, and obviously if I'm doing weed and I'm smoking cigarettes and I'm drinking alcohol, I'm not doing it by myself, otherwise I'll be depressed. And so I'm having people around me, and you find that a lot of the time by yourself, you can probably spend or you waste anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours. But when you find yourself around people, you probably waste 4, 5, 6, even 7 hours because you want to hang around them. And so the association, so your environment pretty much shapes you. And so when you figure out who do you want to be, you find out one of the first thing, or one of the most important aspects about them is they are very careful and they're very strict and they're very brutal when it comes to choosing their environment and the people they surround themselves with it. So if you talk about a guy like Elon Musk or Bill Gates or Warren Buffett or Jeff Bezos, it is very difficult for you to find a drunkard, a person who smokes weed, or somebody who doesn't even have direction for their life surrounding them or even near them. You will not even find them within 10 miles of them because they value their time. And so this is one of the things that you need to evaluate: your environment. So take the time and really think about who do you want to be, and then figure out, is there somebody who's already like that person, and then figure out what is it that they do to become that person, because that is the difference. That is the thing that is going to stop you from becoming that person. And so once you figure out those things, you can start cutting out the habits that are already in your life that are limiting you. And so ultimately here, once you discover who do you want to be, you start nurturing that person, and you start with the person that is inside. And then when the person is inside, you evaluate the person. First of all, you evaluate the person. Okay, so how do I put this? You evaluate, figure out who do you want to be. Find an example of who that person is. Find somebody who closely resembles or matches that person. The third thing is figure out what is that you're doing outside of you that is limiting you. So what kind of habits have you developed? What kind of friends do you have? And then start eliminating those people. And as you're doing that, you want to start also building the person that is inside of you. And so by the time the person inside of you is gone, there's somebody's going to be there, is going to be replacing that person. And that is a 4-step process about the who and not the what. So if you really want to begin effecting change in your life, that is the thing that I found to be most useful in my life. And when I started doing these things, I noticed that I started recovering myself. I started recovering my health. I started recovering every area of my life. I started having a clear mind, a clear process, clear goals, a clear vision. And by the grace of God, because I cannot dismiss this enough, it is God who has helped me. And so whether you're a believer or not, I myself, I'll have to give these testimonies because of God. And so you will need to start evaluating, to take a really good look at your life. And because here's the thing that you're currently doing, your current environment, is what is choking you right now, preventing you from actualizing the person that you've always dreamed of becoming. And so once you change the environment, you find that you start growing. And so it's like a seed that has been planted in the desert versus a seed that is planted on a fertile ground. You find it's very easy for it to grow in the fertile ground than it is in the desert, because there's a lot of struggle, there's a lot of water. But once you find the right environment, it will grow, it will bear fruit, and it will bud. You would even believe it. And so that is the secret. And so once you figure that out, the next step is to figure out, what does that look like? And so that is pretty much in the same step. We'll talk about who do you want to be and finding an example of who that person is. And after that, you just want to figure out, what does that look like for you? Okay, so that means just having an example of the kind of life that you want, the kind of person that you want to become. You give an example. And a lot of times that life is dictated. There's something that is bigger than you that is influencing you for that one. But we'll talk about that one later on when it comes to figure out your why. But for now, the next episode, we're going to be talking about, the next few episodes, one of them is going to be about setting goals. That way you have a direction. Because we talked about, one of the next episodes is going to be about, where are you going? And so that is kind of like the destination. But now we need to figure out, okay, so you know where you're going. So you need to have goals that consistently push you towards that direction. And so the next episode, we're going to be talking about the kind of goals that you need to be able to actualize the person that you want to become in your life. But that's it for this episode. I know I went on and on and on, but by the grace of God, we've gotten this far. And so I just want to say thank you for listening. Be sure to leave a comment in the section below, and thank you. Bye.